Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start. If I can ask you to turn off your cell phones and avoid any interruptions in the program, feel free to social media, of course, and tag at SB of T. And thank you so much for attending today. If you do not want your photo taken, please let the Surrey Board of Trade staff know. We do use photos for both internal and external publications. Everyone, I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade, soon to be the Surrey and White Rock Board of Trade. And both cities are so excited about regional economic development opportunities and, of course, FIFA 2026. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and unceded territory of our Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tawasin, Kaikut, Coquitlam, our Inuit, and our Métis peoples. They have a profound connection to the land and water that surrounds the great cities of Surrey and White Rock. And of course, we have the largest urban Indigenous population within British Columbia, right here in Surrey and White Rock. And of course, a significant economic development partner in terms of making sure we are moving our economy forward. And that is why on June 5th to 7th, the Surrey Board of Trade is partnering again to host the Indigenous Partnerships Showcase event for the 4th year at the Vancouver Convention Centre, where we are bringing Indigenous peoples from British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, Washington State, Oregon, and California. We're bringing in government. We're bringing in the private sector to talk about economic development pathways and specific projects. That event has been so amazing in moving our Indigenous reconciliation in terms of action. And so take a look at the website, businessinsurrey.com, for more information and to register. Today's event would not be possible without our amazing sponsors. Thank you so much. A round of applause to our supporting sponsor, Invest Vancouver. I'm proud to be a management board director of Invest Vancouver, which is Metro Vancouver's regional economic development service, where 21 cities and one First Nation are working together on branding Metro Vancouver, all 21 cities, because what benefits one city benefits all of us, and we need to promote ourselves to the world. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about with our keynote speaker. Also, a round of applause to our ongoing progress partners, the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, represented by SNF Benefits, Western Community College, Focus College, the law firm of Faskin, and Lighthouse Labs. Thank you so much. A great round of applause, please. And we have some special guests in the audience that I would like to recognize. Member of Parliament and also a former Surrey Board of Trade Director, Taco Von Palpta, MP for Langley Aldergrove. And of course, our keynote speaker, a great Surrey welcome, everyone, to His Worship, the Mayor of Vancouver, Ken Sim. Yeah, you can stand. Okay. We're going to have a lot of fun on stage together. And Her Worship from the City of White Rock, Mayor Megan Knight, is in the house. City of Surrey Councillor Linda Annis. City of Surrey Councillor Gord Hepner. City of White Rock Councillor Elaine Chung. City of White Rock Councillor Michelle Partridge. And City of White Rock Councillor Bill Lawrence. And our Honorary Consul for Sri Lanka, Mr. Jim Bennett. Thank you so much for attending, all of you. Everyone, the Surrey Board of Trade, we are one of the top 5 largest chambers of commerce, boards of trades in Canada. There are 430 of us. We support business, bring business into our area through a very diversified service portfolio. To tell you more about our organization and our great city of Surrey, turn your attention to the screen. As one of the fastest growing cities in Canada, Surrey is an opportunity city. The Surrey Board of Trade is the concierge of connections.
My name is Dr. Paul Gotra. I am founder and CEO of Simtech Green Energy. Surrey Board of Trade has always been an invaluable part of our business. They have greatly helped us to build business relations, facilitate meetings with our potential customers, and helped us to grow business tremendously through their efforts.
The Surrey Board of Trade is focused on making Surrey an opportunity city by instigating change at the different levels of government, offering a variety of business support services, international trade support services, and being the concierge of connections for the business community in Surrey.
My name is Maria Santos Graves, the owner and president of Surrey Hearing Care Incorporated. Since our inception, Surrey Hearing Care has proudly been a member of Surrey Board of Trade. The organization played a pivotal role in positioning our business and as a leader in the hearing industry. Through the provision of valuable tools, informative resources, and network opportunities with professionals across different sectors, the Surrey Board of Trade has been an instrumental in our growth and success.
If it's in the agricultural sector or in the retail sector, if they're needing a government connection, if they have an issue related to government, we are there for them, and we have a proven track record of success to ensure that businesses are helped when they need it in a timely way.
Surrey Board of Trade helps me to build relationship with the right people, whether at City of Surrey, the province, or key partners like PowerTech Labs and BC Hydro.
Being a member of Surrey Board of Trade has not only expanded my network, but has also provided invaluable resources, guidance, and a sense of community that has greatly contributed to the success and sustainability of both my company, Surrey Hearing Care, and Minamar Janitorial Services.
If you are interested in growing your business, Surrey Board of Trade is an invaluable resource for networking and collaborating with the community and other businesses.
So whether you're a small business or a medium-sized business or a large business, starting out or expanding, we have the connections. We have the resources to ensure that you have what you need during your journey as an entrepreneur. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage the Mayor of Vancouver, Ken Sim. Thank you. So, Mayor, one of the things that the Surrey Board of Trade does when we invite mayors nationally and globally is not only do we talk about in ways in which we can work together, but we talk about leadership. And so we're all entrepreneurs here. We're all building cities. Tell me what motivates you as a leader and as Mayor of Vancouver.
The free parking pass throughout the city. No, seriously, it's actually great. As an aside, it's amazing. Parking's actually kind of hard in Vancouver, so the fact that you can park anywhere is great. But all joking aside, by the way, thank you very much for having me here. I'm launching my 2030 provincial camp. I'm kidding. Not doing that.
The cameras are here.
Hey, I was definitely kidding. That's not going to happen at all. No, maybe I should. I think context is important here. So when I think of leadership, there's in our company, it's a lot different than being the mayor of Vancouver. And I think the context is the reason I ran and I wanted to be the mayor of Vancouver is because our 4 boys didn't see a future for themselves. And so when you look at our kids, it's not just our kids, it's like all their friends. And when you look at it today, there are a lot of people throughout the city. And when I think of the city, it's the whole region who, they've kind of given up on the region, right? Because it's tough. And so that didn't sit well for me. And so when I look at what, I'm just one small part of a team. And I think the mayor, the role of mayor gets way more credit than it deserves. Our councillors, we're all teammates together. We all have an equal say, and they're my partners, and they're fabulous. And you can talk about all the team members. But when I think of what we're trying to build, and we can talk about housing, we can talk about making the place more business friendly. We can talk about having a united city. But the one thing I want to build personally is. Something that's scalable, that is bigger than any one person and lives beyond any one person. And so what we're building is we're recruiting and grooming our future leaders. We're changing the structure of how City Hall operates. And so when I finally leave this office, if I did my job right, this place will be even better. And if it regresses, and gets better not because they ripped up the playbook and went the opposite direction, but because we set people up for success. And if this place, goes downhill, I would look at that as a failure. So if anyone was to measure my personal success as a leader, don't look at what happens while I'm in office. Look at what happens in the 4 years after I leave office. And if the place is great, then I succeeded. If not, I failed. And that's the only time I'll say I. Besides that, it's always we.
Excellent. Mayor, you know that...
I go by Ken, by the way. You can just call me Ken.
Okay, I'll just call you Ken.
Nita.
Okay. We actually were in Toronto together for a collision. Jackie Griffiths from Invest Vancouver was with us as well, showcasing the Metro Vancouver region. And we're making Surrey a technology destination as well. How do you see the cities of Vancouver and Surrey, the 2 largest cities in British Columbia, working more closely together on regional economic development opportunities?
Yeah, these artificial constructs of borders in our region, it's actually kind of crazy. It's kind of dumb if you think about it. This is a room full of entrepreneurs. Do you guys just stop and do things differently as soon as you cross boundary or one of the bridges? No. And so what we've done is we've made it really hard to do business in our region because we have all these different rules. I don't know if things have changed, but I remember when we ran for office, I was speaking with someone who used to install PBX systems, right? And he literally had to pull a permit every single time he did work in a different jurisdiction, which means he didn't even bother working in a lot of different jurisdictions because it wasn't worth the hassle of pulling one permit just for one job. And think of how that hurts us. And that's just one example. And so, when we're, I believe the role of mayor is to, especially at the city of Vancouver, just because it rightfully or wrongfully, it has a profile. And so we lever that profile when we go out and we, champion the region to get more business. And we don't think of it as we're championing Vancouver. We wear our Vancouver regional hat on, and if that means a technology company sets up shop in Burnaby, or there's opportunities for our partners in Surrey, we go, hell yeah, that's great, because we know what's good for Surrey is good for Vancouver and the region. What's good for Burnaby, what's good for anything south of the Fraser or even Langley. Yeah, our friends in Langley. Is anyone from Langley here? Boo! No, I'm just kidding. We like you too. But it's just we're going to succeed together, right? And it's not just the region. Like I think of, we have an incredible responsibility here. I was speaking with the mayor of Regina, and this is when we're going through our port strike. Vancouver is the port for Western Canada, so they look at us as their port. And so think of that. Our responsibility to this country is a lot bigger than we think.
So, does it concern you, though, that Surrey is going to be the largest city in British Columbia in 5 years? What does that mean to Vancouver in terms of infrastructure, attention by the BC government and the federal government?
It's absolutely amazing. Like, I don't know, like, it's not a competition, right? Like, and maybe that's where I came from. I would rather be number 72 on a winning ship or winning team than number 1 on a losing team. And we want to support our partners. I tell you, and you can see this coming from a while away. We've been talking about it for about 30 years now. Surrey was the biggest jurisdiction in the country, right? From a land perspective. So it's just obvious that over time you would pass us in population. But how awesome will it be, when we have a regional partner that carries a ton of weight and has influence? I think it's absolutely fabulous. And then when you look at the challenges that we have in the city of Vancouver, look, we have housing challenges. We can't find people to work in our businesses. And if you look at the demographic cliff that we're going to, hop off of. Like in Vancouver, by 2030, 1 out of 4 people will be over the age of 65, which is still young, but you can already see that, if you look 15, 20 years out, and if you don't have the housing, all of a sudden we won't have an opportunity for our businesses to succeed, or staffing up our first responders or working in our hospitals. And Surrey's going to help us big time, because people are going to be living here. They can commute to the city when we have better transit south of the Fraser that connects into the whole infrastructure, and we win as a region. And if Surrey fails, Vancouver's in trouble. And so we want you to win.
So let's talk about winning regionally, and let's talk about FIFA. What do you see as the winning opportunities for FIFA 2026?
There are literally hundreds of opportunities. And I don't think people understand how big this is. Okay, think of a Super Bowl. A non-Taylor Swift influenced Super Bowl. It draws about 115 million viewers. An opening round match for World Cup draws 350 million eyeballs. And then we have 7 games. And they're not just opening round. We have round of 32 and round of 16. We are literally getting the equivalent of 30 to 40 Super Bowls over a course of a month. The world is going to be seeing Vancouver. It's insane. If you think of Expo 86 and what it meant to our city, then you think of the Olympics and what it meant to our city. This thing is way bigger than both. And I say that respectfully. I love the Olympics. It was an amazing time. But you even look at the Winter Olympics, it does not have the viewership of the Summer Olympics, and World Cup is bigger. So it's going to be off the charts. And so I think of the capital investment that's going to go into this region, but also it's going to now it's going to be a little too late to build all these hotels, but guess what? When you have all those eyeballs on Vancouver and they fall in love with the city, and remember, there are going to be a lot of different countries that come here. They're going to be following the teams. They're going to be going to the different neighborhoods, and guess what? People are going to come back, and the people that are going to build hotels, they're going to go, wait a sec. This is an opportunity, and these cities are also making it easier to build hotels. Let's build hotels. And then it has this effect, all of a sudden, our conventions we can actually support more conventions because we actually have the infrastructure now, and it's going to spill throughout the whole region. So that's just one example of how amazing it's going to be. Also, people are going to fall in love with the city, and they're going to want to live here. Like the people that live in Vancouver, and I say Vancouver as a region, pretty much two profiles. They either grew up here, or they came here for school or on vacation, and they fell in love with the city, and they decided to live here. Think of all the people that are going to fall in love with our city. They're going to want to live here. They're going to work in our businesses or in our hospitals or our schools, and it's a huge opportunity. And I know, people question the cost of this. And look, you can run financial models and you can get an answer. It's amazing or it's terrible. Like I used to do that for a living as an investment banker. I can tell you, you don't even have to run a model to realize how big of an impact this will have when we're in a war for talent around the globe, and people are going to see the city and they're going to want to live here, right? And they're going to help us with our demographic challenges. When we have the infrastructure built here, the economic spill-off is going to be huge. It's a no-brainer.
When we're talking about major events like this and eyeballs on our region, so like I've been going to Taiwan to just return from Mexico, going to Ireland in a couple of weeks to do a Surrey roadshow of our economic assets, and the ability to co-locate global businesses here, to create jobs, to do P3 partnerships, to build our infrastructure like it's being done all around the world. Do you see that as a major spin-off opportunity as a result of this major sporting event in terms of building more destination assets, building infrastructure, really ensuring we're doing things a little bit more quickly in terms of what it is that we need for transportation, for example?
Sorry, can you, I don't understand the question, so.
So the ability to really ensure that we're partnering with the private sector, global investors, they're going to be here. Do you see that as an opportunity?
Oh, absolutely, right? And I say this respectfully. I don't think, I say this very respectfully. I don't think, and I'm part of the government, by the way, now. I don't think the government is necessarily the best at seizing opportunities and building the future, but that's not their role, and we shouldn't expect that. Where government should come in is making it easier for businesses to, launch their businesses and give them an opportunity to thrive in a global setting. If we can get that message out that this region's open for business, and it may not be perfect right now, but it's getting better, we have a path forward, all of a sudden this place is an opportunity because people don't want to go to, let me give you an example. Like Austin is on fire right now. Now, can you imagine if you got in, with perfect hindsight, into Austin 15 years ago? While Vancouver is great, and we actually have a lot of world-leading industries, we can talk about the blockchain, we can talk about XR, we can talk about film, we can talk about gaming, we can talk about, technical clothing, the list goes on. We have a lot of great things here. And you can also make an argument that this is still an opportunity to get into the ground floor of something that's going to be absolutely fabulous. And if you look at this region 15 years from now, it could be lights out.
One of the things that each of the cities, I think, are thinking about is creating activation zones for FIFA. So I know, for example, the city of White Rock is considering that, the city of Surrey, and so many others. Do you think FIFA is organized in order to ensure that they themselves are promoting the region during this game?
Yeah, FIFA is an interesting organization. FIFA will do what FIFA wants to do. But, they do have a vested interest in making sure the games are successful. And I do believe it's the onus is upon us to seize the opportunity and not wait, right? Just like we have entrepreneurs in this room, you don't wait, you go and you hustle and you take that opportunity and you take it to the next level. You have to realize there's 16 different sites that are hosting games. FIFA's really busy, and so if they don't, they'll celebrate the fact that Vancouver's hosting the games, but they're not gonna, they're not going to be too concerned about White Rock or Surrey or Langley or where we locate our, activation zones, at a micro level. And so it's upon us to make it awesome.
So we're going to go to the audience. There is a microphone in the middle of the room. If you do have a question, go to the microphone, state your name, your company name, and your question or comment very briefly. So you'll go ahead and do that. So while people are going, I'm just going to ask you about what are your priorities in advocacy to the BC government? So let's just take short-term rentals, Airbnb. Could it be a limitation in terms of people finding we don't have enough hotel rooms? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Look, as a region, we're struggling through an affordability crisis and housing, and so, we're, the region's trying to do the best they can, giving a lot of different moving parts, and so, there will be some restrictions, obviously, on Airbnb, but there are rules to follow, and if you follow the rules, you'll be able to rent out your places. I think during the month-long, time that World Cup is here, we're going to take that entrepreneurial spirit and we're going to look at every way we can make sure that people can stay in the region. So it could look like cruise ships, as an example. Now, when I was in Doha, they had about 15 cruise ships there, 12 or 15 or whatever. We don't have that ability to do that in Vancouver. We're very limited with our infrastructure. So there's only maybe a couple if we do that. But people are going to, they might have to stay on the island and commute on in, or go up, Sea to Sky Highway, up to Whistler, throughout the region here. You can go. Even into the interior south of the border, we're gonna have to be innovative. We can have negative connotation, but trailer parks, they actually did that in Doha as well, right? So there are all these ways that we can improvise, and also people, can host people in their own homes. We will get through it. The bigger picture is let's make sure we host an amazing games, and then we, the world sees this region in a very positive light, because the payoff actually isn't during the games. The payoff is over the next 30 years.
To the audience.
Thank you. Hey, Ken, love the energy you bring to your role. We all know what BC stands for, right? Bring cash. So why is it just last week or the week before, Ontario, the Toronto area said their costs for the games have gone up 10 or 15%, and we've just announced that our cost has doubled. How is it we're hosting one more game and our costs have doubled in this short period of time? Neil Squire, I'm from Neil Squire, we work with persons with disabilities. There's so many other places those dollars could be spent. I do agree with you, this is going to be great for the region, but if the costs do spiral out of control like they certainly seem to be, how would you respond to that? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's the question we should be asking ourselves. Look, I can't comment as to the economics around the Toronto game, or the Toronto's hosting. And what I can say is when it comes to the costs around our games, they're a lot of it, there's a big chunk going to infrastructure, trekking out BC Place and making, it actually more accessible for people in wheelchairs, as an example. And so you can look at that as a cost, or you can look at it as a long-term investment in a critical piece of infrastructure that serves this region. I'd like to take a different tact. I'm a big believer in, instead of trying to cut the pie a different way, we bake more pies. And if we bake more pies, everyone can eat more pie. And so when you create economic opportunities, these are investments. And if we do it right, it's not the cost of the games, it's what do we get in return over the next 30 years. And we bring economic prosperity here, we have more people working, we have more businesses successful, we create more tax revenue that then goes and funds our social programs, schools, hospitals, building roads, and it creates, it uplifts, it lifts all boats. The flip side is we don't do that, And where's the economic prosperity? And so then we're in a conversation of, well, the pie just shrank, and how do we cut it differently? And then that's when a lot of people, rightfully get upset. And so I'm not asking people to believe in that or not. It's just, that's my view. And so far it's served us pretty well.
Mary Polak with Maple Leaf Strategies. I do live in Langley, though, so it's a nice place.
Actually, we like Langley.
I know.
You're mayor. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. By the way, sorry, before you go there, I do want to acknowledge one thing. So thank you for the land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge my partners in this room, and it's the mayor and all the councillors, because this place is a region. We all sit in our various chambers, and we all have equal votes. And these individuals, they're doing what's right, what they believe in, to make this place a better place. And so as a resident here, I'm very thankful to have the partners that I have in this room. So thank you.
So the question actually dovetails with that, because I'm thinking about the region as a whole. We've talked about the various impediments there are to operating as a region, but the one I'm thinking of is the structure. The structure of Metro Vancouver has been the same for many, many, many years, with Surrey becoming soon the largest city in the province, with the region having changed significantly and there's been significant growth. Is that structure still fit for purpose, or going forward, do we need to think about a different type of structure for our regional districts, as opposed to the current Metro Vancouver, Fraser Valley, et cetera? What should that look like going forward?
Yeah, I'd like to say that might be a little bit beyond my pay grade. You hear arguments for both. I don't think there is a right answer. I think if there was a right answer, we'd get to that answer pretty quickly, but there are pros and cons. And so you can go to a more regional model, but then, forget about neighborhoods. Whole, areas will feel sort of left out of the equation. It's a tough one, but I can say that's not something that we're focused on during our first term in office in Vancouver. We got enough challenges there that we want to address.
Hi, Mayor Sim. My name is Capri Rai. I'm a local business owner in the hospitality and insurance industry in Surrey. So anyone knows. I grew up, my accent will tell you, I grew up and raised in the UK and traveled to many FIFA World Cups. And I really appreciate your regional thinking and approach to the FIFA World Cup, because as you've absolutely rightly said, FIFA are FIFA. They'll do their own thing. And just want to share with you the Qatar World Cup. One of the things that, speaking to a lot of people when I was there, is that, well, obviously it was great because Canada were in the World Cup, so it was awesome that lots of Canadians were there supporting our team. But one of the things that really struck me, talking to networking, speaking to local business owners, they said, oh, well, we're staying in Dubai. And Dubai did an awesome job, 1 hour flight away, of hosting members and fans like myself, and putting on extra flights. So I think we can learn from that, and hopefully as a region, we can say, I know we can't build airports, but with our regional approach, I think that'll be awesome for the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, and so thank you very much, and that's a great example of how the region can come together. And there were a lot of people flying back and forth from Dubai, and for us personally, I stayed at my cousin's house right when we were there. So we were using an asset that was already there, and we'll get through it. We will. We absolutely will.
Good, thank you. I want to thank former MLA Mary Polak for standing up for the integrity of Langley. Taco Van Popten, Member of Parliament for Langley. And
Mary's going to punch me in the head later. I already know that.
Can we extend an invitation for you to come out to Langley one day and see firsthand how beautiful it is? So.
I actually come by all the time.
Good. Well, let me know, and I'll show you around.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So one of the things I want to show you is how Langley is focused on transit-oriented development. So we have a housing availability crisis here in Canada, and nowhere is that more evident than right here in the Lower Mainland, as I'm sure you are very much aware. And price of real estate, and particularly the price of housing, has an impact on economic development as we try to get more people to live here. So I just want to know what your city government thinks about transit-oriented development. What opportunities do you see? What threats? What opportunities? Thank you.
Yeah, look, it just makes sense, right? I don't know. It's not an eloquent answer, but it's crazy not to build along our infrastructure. We literally have billions of dollars of infrastructure, and frankly, we're kind of squandering it right now. I just think of Vancouver at King Edward and Cambie. We have is it 7 or 8 stories? I forget. I drive by it all the time, above a subway station. That's absolutely crazy. It should be 40, at least, right? And so we've been very clear that we want to build, a lot along the Broadway line. We want to get the subway extended all the way to UBC to connect the university, which was the second largest employer in the province, to the rest of the city, and have this whole healthcare corridor as an example, and build housing all along the way. We support Jericho, which it will be 13 million square feet when everything's said and done, and there will be a station right there. And we look at it from a regional perspective as well. And so if it makes sense for the region to build something south of the Fraser first, we will 100% support it, as an example. But to not build on that infrastructure is absolutely crazy.
Ken, can you speak about some of the social challenges the region is facing? So there is a growing homeless population. We have versions of it all in each of our cities, and we all have different approaches. How can we better work together as a region to develop better pathways?
Yeah, I want to... Okay, so I'm just going to call it as I see it. And it's really hard to get this into a soundbite. I think we need a lot of context. So if some of this gets taken out of context, let's have this conversation. And I'll preface this with we're going through a humanitarian crisis right now, especially in the downtown east side. And you're seeing this spill, it's getting pretty pronounced now. It's literally in every, seems like, big town, city in the province, and in fact across the country. Now, Vancouver has actually borne the brunt of this for the region for a very, very, very long time. And that's just a description. If we want to solve or make a material impact on this issue, other regional partners have to step up. Or don't, but then we're not going to solve this issue. Because I can tell you, Vancouver, we represent 25% of the region's population. And as an illustrative example, we have 75, 80% of all the supportive housing for the region in Vancouver. It's not a sustainable model because, as we all know, if you run a municipality, we're very limited in our ability to raise money. And then a lot of this stuff is not in our jurisdiction as well. And so in Vancouver, we're a core city, and so we have all these challenges that are unique to us that other cities don't see. And at some point, the model will break if we don't act as partners. And if Vancouver breaks, just like we want Surrey to be successful because our success is tied to your success, the region's success is predicated on Vancouver's success. And if Vancouver fails, we all fail. And so we really have to look at this, and we all have to step up. And it may not look great. Like other cities are going to have to, make some hard choices where they're, it'll put pressure on elected officials. But if we want to take a long-term view and we want prosperity for the region, and if we want to act like regional partners, we all have to step up. And I say that respectfully because I know this just glosses over a very, very nuanced and complicated issue. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all.
Hi, thank you, Anita, for having this event. I think it's very important. Talking about growing population, the Latino community population is growing in the Surrey and Vancouver. But I would like Mayor to expand more on how real partnerships can be built with the newcomers and the new small businesses who are growing in the city of Vancouver and the city of Surrey. They can benefit with this, but if you can expand more clearly how we can get part of the pie that is going to be, or the you visualizing in the future, that we can benefit as a small business, as a new community, and as a new Canadians.
So if I understand the question correctly, are you asking how can, communities like the Latino community, benefit
How
or participate?
clearly we can work together to benefit and to what you're planning to do in 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's a two-part answer. I think one thing it's, I can only speak for the city of Vancouver, but I'm sure like other cities would say same thing. I think the first thing is we just make it easier to do business in the city in general, so people can participate because, once again, this is a very general comment, but when we look at like, let's say the Latino community or other recent immigrants, it's hard to start a business. We know this firsthand. It's hard to start a business when you come to a country and you may or may not know the language. You may or may not have the financial resources. You may or may not have the network. So you're at a disadvantage. And the easier we make it, you can participate more. It's kind of like in the real estate game. Like Vancouver's become a place where really, the big players, they can weather the storm. They can sit and wait 5 years and they'll be fine. That excludes a lot of small builders from coming in because they just can't weather that storm. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is just reach out. Like literally call us at City Hall and ask us. Like when there's an opportunity that you see that you want to participate in, if there's something the City of Vancouver could do, we'll be more than happy to help out.
Thank you so much, Javier. Any other questions from the audience, or I'm going to continue? I just wanted to ask you, I know our Mayor of Surrey wanted to be here today. She gives her sincere regrets, but I know the two of you work closely together. Can you just describe to the audience, how you work together? What are you working on together?
Yeah, it's funny. We overlap in a lot of areas. For example, we sit on the board of Metro. We sit on the board of TransLink. We have common issues. We bounce ideas off of each other all the time. And then as a region, we stick up for each other. Make no mistake about it, we are a lot stronger when we work with our partners in Victoria or Ottawa if we're united. If we're not united, we get picked off pretty quickly. And so we choose not to get picked off. And so while we may not necessarily agree on everything individually, I think it'd be unreasonable to think that 23 jurisdictions are going to get along agree on everything all the time. We have a pretty united front when it comes to Victoria and Ottawa. So when we're looking for transit funding, for example, from senior levels of government, we beat it up, and then we have a united front, and we have the ask together.
And that really helps. I'm always amazed by the City of Vancouver and your partnerships with our Indigenous communities. And, of course, our Indigenous communities will also be a part of the economic development related to FIFA. But can you speak to the goals of the City of Vancouver in working more with other nations, other Indigenous communities, the Métis, the Inuit as well?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, Vancouver is a city of reconciliation, and we are incredibly proud of being that city. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to unlearn what we've learned in the past and learn the true history as to what's happened on these lands. And I can tell you, if we do that, we are going to build a region and a province and a country that's full of love and prosperity, and we're all going to win. And this place will be way better than it is now. And I know there's energy around, you know, First Nation issues. And what I would share with people is, personally, I've worked with Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. We love them. They're friends, incredibly thoughtful. And when I think of, and I'm going to say this respectfully, like I'll give you an example like Granville Island. Frankly, I don't care who owns it, right? If it's the federal government or First Nations, it doesn't really matter. And then I'll say, if I were to choose, I would choose First Nations. And the reason I say that, look, and this is a business crowd here, I think that we create an environment where businesses can succeed. And if we don't create that environment, businesses have every single right to leave our region and set up shop somewhere else where they can succeed. And it's incumbent upon us to create that environment where businesses will choose to do business here. When it comes to Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, they take a long-term view. They're looking out 7 generations. So when they make an investment in the region, they're in it for the long term. And so another way of looking at it, it's like we're supporting local. And we know that they're taking a longer term view and making, in theory, better decisions. And why wouldn't we celebrate that? And so, and then when you learn the true history of what's happened on these lands, it's like, oh my God, we really should be supporting this. And so that's where I stand on it. And I hope more people, you know, are open-minded and they sort of learn the true history and they're open to a different way of thinking. And if we do that, I think things are going to be just fine.
You know, some people say that Vancouver is a no-fun city. Is that true?
I don't know. We have a lot of fun. Sometimes we get into a lot of trouble. Just because we don't want to riot in our place, like, come on, guys. No, you know, Vancouver is actually a fun city. And it's becoming, like, we're setting it up so we can do a lot more things. And so we've started to pilot a lot of different initiatives that, you know, make our city more fun, you know, piloting their responsible consumption of alcohol in our parks and beaches as an example. Because people are doing it anyways, so we thought, well, that's just the reality, right? Changing a lot of bylaws to make it easier to, you know, have a responsible glass of wine if you're getting your hair cut. We're going to treat people like fully functioning adults. You know, bringing the Junos here as an example. And by the way, this is a group effort. This is not just the City of Vancouver. We work with different partners like Destination Vancouver, Invest. You know, the list goes on and on. And then when you think of like the Stanley Cup playoffs as an example, even before we had the, you know, we opened up, you know, a bunch of viewing sites, Vancouver has over 200,000 liquor seats in the downtown core. So restaurants, bars, venues, where, you know, 200,000 people can literally sit down and have a beer or a glass of wine while they're watching the game on TV. And then now we're opening all these sites. We just opened up Oak Meadow Park, where up to 2,000 people can view the game. We're going to open up the Peony if and when, knock on wood, we hit round 3. You know, we're promoting more festivals in the city. So, like, Vancouver is actually a lot of fun, and it's just getting better and better and better.
So one of the things, as any mayor would within the region, you, not typically a top-of-mind business issue, but fast becoming one, with ancillary industry opportunities, is climate change. How is your city focused on climate change policy?
That's a pretty big question. Can you be a little more specific? Or?
Well, just in general, like, is it a priority for the city?
Yeah, it's a priority, but it's also an opportunity, right? Like, I'm a big believer, you know, you can agree or disagree with this. Instead of hitting people over the head, you create a place where it's opportunity, right? And so let's create the opportunity where, you know, businesses that are working on climate change, they have an opportunity to set up shop in Vancouver, and they want to be here because we have a whole ecosystem around us. And being pragmatic as well. Like, I'm not a big virtue signaler in terms of, you know, we're not going to do something just because it sounds great, but it's actually totally ineffective, we're going to do stuff that makes sense, that sets us up for success, right? And I look at it as a huge opportunity for us. Not just us, the whole region. Like, we are leaders in green tech.
One of the things that we're working on at the Surrey Board of Trade, and I know Invest Vancouver is really addressing our workforce challenges. So we want businesses to move here. We want to maintain that spirit of entrepreneurialism, but one of the eroding factors is that talent that we need for our tech sector, manufacturing, so on and so forth. Is that being talked about, in around council chambers?
Yeah, it is. So we're having two conversations. One, we have to create an environment where people have the ability to live and work in Vancouver, and they want to live and work in Vancouver. And by that, I mean the whole region, okay? And so what does that mean? Making sure that people, like we set up an environment where we can build more housing. By we, like, the private sector or public sector, what have you. The City of Vancouver is not in the business of building homes, but we're in the business of making sure that you get permits as quickly as possible, and we're working on it. And zoning, right? And so the other thing is making sure that people want to live here. Because if it was just about housing affordability or attainability, and I say this respectfully, this is not a diss, Detroit would be the most successful city on the planet because there's an abundance of affordable housing, but there are reasons why people would choose not to live in Detroit. Like, not good or bad, it's just, they want to be other places. And so you have to create an environment where people want to be here, so that, when I spoke with Mayor of Austin 3 years ago, they're a tech hub, they, university town, and they compete on music, right? Like, literally, the mayor focuses on the Dirty Six, which is a street in Austin where all the live bands play, because they know that the companies that want to locate in Austin, but beyond the favorable tax environment for Texas, they compete on a global scale for talent, and their talent wants to live in Austin because it's cool. And so, by default, you actually focus on music, and you will have a vibrant economy. So that's the first thing we're focused on. The second thing is, look, we understand technology. And so we talk a lot about AI, and I don't think people still understand how much it's going to transform our lives in such a short period of time. And we can use it to our advantage, because we do have, even if we do all these incredible things and we're able to capture a lot of people that will live in Vancouver, we are still at a disadvantage when it comes to human talent. And so we have to lever AI. And in fact, anyone here who has a company or works in an organization, if your organization does not have a chief AI officer, I hate to say it, but you're probably not in business 5 years from now. People let me do a show of hands here. Humans do not understand exponential change. So if I were to tell you, like, if I were to ask you, if you were to fold a piece of paper 51 times, how tall would that stack of paper be? Would it be 1 foot off the ground, 1 meter off the ground, or 10 meters off the ground? Show of hands, one foot off the ground. Show of hands, 1 meter. Show of hands, 10 meters. Okay, yeah, it's to the sun. 51 doubling periods. AI is doubling every 5 months. In 2.5 years, there's 64 doubling periods. Think about that. In 2.5 years, the AI will be 64 times better than ChatGPT is right now. And then in another 5 months, it'll be 128 times better than what we're seeing right now. If you don't have a chief AI officer, you're not in business. And so these are the two conversations we are having at the City of Vancouver. And this is what's going to get us to the promised land. And it sounds scary, but it's also a world of opportunity. And there are going to be so many things that are amazing that are going to come from it. Like, we could issue probably permits in 12 seconds, as an example. And you laugh.
That would be amazing.
They're doing it right now in Australia. So that's not even 3 years from now. We're that close to issuing permits in 12 seconds. We're going to solve cancer. Think about that. And so if you're not thinking of AI, you're going to be left behind. If you're embracing AI, you're going to love the new world. It's going to be amazing.
I'm looking forward to that. Just my last question to you, and I'm just going to ask the audience once more if you have any questions. Now is the time. You know, we're here on the West Coast in British Columbia. What are the top 3 things that you want for BC, Metro Vancouver as a region, from Ottawa, from the federal government?
Money, money, and more money. I don't know, like. No, you know, okay, and so I'm going to preface this with, we will never take shots at whoever is in Victoria or Ottawa. We will always be great partners. You know, and if we ever having challenges, we act like fully functioning adults, and we pick up the phone and we beat things up, and then we, you know, we come out united. One thing we would want from Ottawa, obviously, is additional cash, right? Because the city of Vancouver and like all the cities here, we have very limited ability to raise money. And so if we want to invest in the capital that we need to take this country to the next level, we need the money. And like the city of Vancouver itself, not the region, the city of Vancouver itself, we have a $500 million capital deficit, which means if we don't do something about it in 20 years, we may not be able to flush toilets in certain parts of the city. And, you know, a $10 million increase in our budget is a 1% property tax increase, right? So imagine pounding through a 50% property tax increase. You're not in office next time, right? And so that's the first thing. I think, and I say this respectfully, you know, there are things like the new, you know, the change or the increase in the capital gains inclusion rate. It is problematic, especially if you want to support entrepreneurship in this country, because, you know, while it may make, you know, people will come up for reasons why it makes sense, we're competing on a global scale for talent. And, you know, if you talk about AI companies or blockchain companies or basically any company that can locate anywhere on the planet now, when you tax the capital gains, it's really hard to attract, you know, those future companies to set up shop here, and it has just the spillover effect. So.
Just one more. Ken, thanks for being here today. My name's Scott Williams, and I'm from Simtech Green Energy. We're Canada's largest independent producer of components and assemblies for hydrogen fuel cells.
Awesome.
Fair amount of business here on this side of the border, a lot on the other side of the border, but that's just how mature that marketplace is. Just to follow up on a question that Anita asked you, whether it's the mayor of Surrey, who's a partner of yours, or the province, can you talk a little bit about some of the conversations you've had, hopefully that have included Pete, a little bit about green energy and the future and EV, hydrogen, solar, wind?
Yeah, well, that's a hard question to answer because a lot of the conversations we have are in confidence. But what I can tell you, in general terms, no, we're big supporters. Look, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to climate change, and we have a lot of opportunity. So I can tell you how I feel. It is the greatest opportunity, I think, or one of the top 2 or 3 greatest opportunities that any British Columbia will see in their life, right? Like there's, you know, if you want to create a global business, you try to solve a problem that 1 billion people face. Not 1 million, not 10 million, 1 billion. Climate change is one of the greatest threats to us. It's going to displace like how we do everything. And it doesn't matter if you believe in it or not, the reality is sea level, or the reasons why, sea levels will increase. We will have more storms. Most of our settlements are along the coasts of everywhere we live, or in rivers, you know, like at sea level. And so you're going to see mass displacement of people and property, and wars are going to be fought on this. So it's also the greatest opportunity. And why wouldn't we, as leaders in that, not want to promote it and create an environment where we can be world leaders on it for generations to come? It's absolutely crazy.
Thanks.
Great.
Ken, any closing comments?
Yeah, go Canucks, go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hear you guys have a pretty wicked party on Scott Road here.
We do. It's wicked. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having us.
Everyone, a round of applause for Mayor Ken Sim. So everyone, tomorrow we have a roundtable with about 5 consul generals representing the ASEAN countries at the Surrey Board of Trade. And so check us out at businessinsurrey.com to register for our upcoming programs. And thank you so much to Invest Vancouver for sponsoring today's event. And continue networking and make it a great business day. Thank you.